Now, Ejisuman Senior High School has de-boardinised 7 students after they were deemed to have engaged in activities that tarnished the school's image. The 6 or 7 are all final year students. They are accused of using a mobile phone, which is prohibited in basic and senior high schools, to intentionally upload a video on social media where unprintable words that border on sex were spewed out. A letter to the Ashanti Regional Director of Education said they were sacked from the boarding house effective February 6, 2020, pending a final determination of their fate by the school's board. The management of the school, at a meeting with the affected students and their parents, arrived at this decision, but some sections of the public have issues with this. Child rights advocate Bright Apia joins me on the phone to discuss this matter. Good morning to you, sir. Thank you for your time, if you can hear me. Is there anything wrong with this administrative measure taken by Ejisuman Senior High School?
Well, the issue in question has nothing to do with administrative order. So it's very difficult for me to place their decision or describe their decision to be administrative because what the children did is purely a social issue. For that matter, if you'd want to handle or deal with a social issue, there is a way that you have to go about it. But if you look at all the engagement that they've done in respect to this particular matter, it has nothing to do with addressing the substantive matter that made them to do what they did, but they just focus only on what they think is appropriate for them, especially from the school perspective, and then also threaten that they have taken that decision together with the parent, which for me, it is not the main issue that needs to be dealt with in respect to this particular case.
You've seen the videos?
Yeah, I've seen the video.
Do you appreciate that students are not expected to use mobile phones in school?
Yeah, it's a fact. It's a regulation for which we expect that every student would also abide by it. And if that is the case, then you can punish students purely for the usage of mobile phones. But again, it comes back to the issue, the preliminary investigation that the school authorities did in respect to this particular instance. It points to the fact that the recording did not take place during the stay of the student, but it took place when some people came to visit. It was a visiting hour that the recording took place, their own investigation. So, and they also established that the children were not the owners of the mobile phone, but a visitor who came there that the phone belongs to. So you cannot write on the basis that the children were using mobile phone in the school. For that matter, you need to punish them. All that they defaulted has to do with the fact that they exhibited a social deformity, which should be the concern of the school rather than procedural matters, because they do not have any direct contact with the means for which the recording was made. So you can't punish children, or you cannot punish the student the way you did it on the basis that they violated the school rules, because their social disorder has nothing to do or has no bearing on the regulations of the school. So you cannot invoke any regulation of the school in punishing them, and that is where we feel that the school erred.
But these girls are clearly in an identifiable clothing. That's the uniform or a fabric, an official material of the school. So how do we not identify them by the school and link them to the school?
Yeah, well, you can identify them by the school, but in matters of this nature, the dignity of the children supersedes that of the school. The integrity and the privacy of the student supersedes that of the school. So what the school required to do or supposed to carry that has to do with the fact that how do we rehabilitate these children to pick up a normal life? It's not about the protection of the dignity of the school, because without a student, the school do not exist. And the existence of the school is because there are students who are supposed to come there to learn. For that matter, the interest of the school should be on protecting the dignity and the privacy of these students. So they cannot just come to the conclusion that they want to protect the dignity of the school.
So, Mr. Appiah, perhaps I should ask you, so what did the student do wrong in your view? What have they done wrong?
What they did wrong has to do with the fact that they exhibited a social disorder.
What constitutes a social disorder?
You see, it will be out of place for any ordinary person within our social norm, the behavior of what we expect from students, to go on that rampage to do what they did. So it means that something influenced that goes against our social norm. Therefore, that is what, for me, needs to be investigated. What will make a student do what they did? So that you set up a committee to do the investigation. The committee should be made up of clinical psychologists, people who understand the biological and psychological makeup of students, and then diagnose it, and then come to the conclusion that, oh, okay, this is a real issue, and this is the kind of prescription that we have to give to it under our rehabilitation program. This has nothing to do with punishment. All that they have succeeded in doing is to transfer the student from that limited environment into the larger society. So all that we are telling them is that, well, we cannot do anything about the issue, but go out there and do whatever is expected of you.
Is it your understanding, Mr. Appiah, that these girls didn't know what they were doing?
You see, as to whether they know what they are doing or not, the stage in which they are requires that certain activities to take place in their life. And it's a stage of recognition and acceptance. And it's purely biological and psychological. You cannot take it away from them. So all that is needed in that process is to guide their thinking in terms of how they exhibit it. But this is the way they decided to do it. And it goes against social norms. So it is not a matter of whether or not they know what they are doing, but it's rather to expose to them the consequences that comes with their action. Because you don't expect a student to behave in that way. And once they begin to do that, it's an issue that you have to investigate and then draw a proper conclusion to deal with the matter.
You know, some people can understand, for instance, because in terms of the kind of language, the kind of things that they were saying in the video, I've heard people say, for instance, these are things that you do and hide. But why do you record deliberately yourself something that you're doing that you know you're not supposed to be doing?
Well, the investigation that we've gotten so far do not point to the fact that the student decided to do the recording on their own. And that these are things that we expect that the investigation would unravel so that we come to a certain conclusion or as to why the student will do that. So those are the things that we expect.
But doesn't it look like a self-made video?
You know, it will look like. But until we do a proper investigation to come to that conclusion, yes. But even what the school did shows that the mobile phone that was used in doing the recording do not belong to the students. So it means that maybe, just maybe, that in the process, it was influenced. We cannot come to that conclusion. That is why we are saying that do proper investigation. But whatever may be the case, the issue is whether even the students decide to use their own mobile phone to record it or they were influenced. Something is wrong, and that thing must be corrected.
Okay,
that,
so are you saying that
issue that we have to deal with?
Great. Are you saying that if a student does something that is wrong, they should not be punished if this is the punishment the authorities think is appropriate for what they've done?
Not at all. If a student disobeys school rules and regulations, whatever punishment there is must apply. And we believe that students must abide by school rules and regulations. But you see, the matter in question, it is not about violation of school rules and regulations. It is about exhibiting a social behavior that we deem that it's a disorder. It goes against the social norm.
It's a bit sorry to come in. I think it's a bit unclear. If school says don't do this and you do, how does it become a social disorder and not disobedience of school rules?
I have read some pieces of school regulations that are not even put together in terms of safeguarding policy. And there is no way that says that if a child exhibits a social order, it is a means of punishment. It is about the physical things that children do, for instance, if they say that you have to go to dining hall at this particular time and you refuse, that becomes punishment. And most of our things that exist in the school that attract punishment are purely based on procedural matters, not on substantive issues. So if you are dealing with procedural matter, if you look at what happened, you cannot say that it's a procedural matter because, first of all, the phone did not belong to the students, so they don't have any direct.
Well, but does that really matter? Isn't what matters the fact that you use the phone, whether or not the phone belongs to you? Is that a consideration?
So let's assume that you have a child at home, and then the child exhibits a certain character. Would it be well for you to sack your child from the house just because they've done that?
The girls are still in the school. They are they are just not in the boarding school. They still remain in the school.
The school has been given a constitutional authority that once children enter the environment, you assume a parental responsibility. That is why in our laws we have structured in such a way that if society begins to fail children, the former institutions must pick it up and deal with the very issues that society did not handle well, especially when parents fail their duty. That is how we have structured our law.
So what should have been the appropriate punishment for this behavior?
You see, the issue is not about punishment. It is about investigating the matter, find the right diagnosis, the symptoms of this behavior, and then prescribe rehabilitation programs for them. For me, that is what it is.
Isn't that what the school did with the initial investigation?
They did not. They did not. And even if you see the kind of, they said they are organizing counseling services for the school, not necessarily about the children, but they are rather organizing counseling services for the rest of the students who are in school. And for me, if you engage the services of any clinical psychologist, would tell you that it is not appropriate way of dealing with this matter by engaging the service of a counselor for the school and not those who have committed the offense. I think that there is something wrong. Again, it comes back to the issue of the parents sitting down with the school to agree. It should send a signal even to the school authorities that there's a relationship issue between the students and their parents, that they even have to have interest in addressing that issue, because you have not done anything in relation to the state of the children. You've not done anything in relation to the state of the children. All you are interested in is the dignity of the school and how the school's name has been protected and all that. But these are students that we are making investments. The taxpayers' money is being used to train these children. So if they are exhibiting behavior that is contrary to the behavior that we expect any student to exhibit, it is our responsibility to ensure that they acquire the normal behavior that is expected of them. And that, for me, is what they fail to do. But in this case, I don't think that punishment is the best option.
Okay, so what should be the appropriate, because you don't like to use the word punishment, what should it be? What should have been done?
It's what I call the treatment. The treatment plan must be rolled out to engage these students and then find appropriate means of prescribing antidotes in addressing these issues so that they don't escalate it, even within a society that they are living in the future.
So you don't see, in terms of the school punishing the student, you don't see this also as a deterrent, so other school children don't think that even when you do it, nothing seriously happens to you, and so I can also do it.
Let me even give you an example. They paraded a student in front of the school, and in the own words of the PTA chairman, the student did not show remorse, even in the presence of their colleagues. It was only one person that showed remorse. So it means that all that you are trying to do is that you harden the heart of these people and still have the confidence that what they've done. So even things that you feel that you have punished them with, they are not even recognizing it. So the whole issue for us is not about punishment, it's about treatment. And that is what, for me, we should focus on.
What do you think should happen? For instance, as Child Rights International seeking to present a petition, or are you intervening in this matter?
Well, there's a lot of violation issues in here, and if the students are willing and ready, we can pursue some of these matters in court, come conclusions on it. Because the fact that students commit offense and the only option available to authorities is to sack them from school, we think that to some extent it violates their right to education.
But they have not sacked them from the school. They've just taken them out of the boarding school.
You see, that is it even makes it worse. It even makes it worse. And sacking them from the boarding school, what does it change? Aren't they in the same classroom with their colleagues? Don't you think that within 5 minutes or 10 minutes, they can also influence people in the classroom? So we should stop the way we handle issues relating to children. This is a deep-seated behavior, and we need to get to the root of it and deal with it once and for all. But massaging it and thinking that we are controlling it is not the best option.
Okay. All right, Ms. Appiah, we'll leave it here. Thank you very much for your time. That's Mr. Bright Appiah. He's the Executive Director of the Child Rights International.